All buttoned up and ready to go for Saturday?
I'll say this, and I know we talked about it a little bit last week. It's going to be beneficial to play a game. And I think, sometimes as a coach, you think I only want 18 more years of practice before we play. Yet, you get to a point where the practice is invaluable, and yet to actually go out and experience what a game's like only helps, I think, boost and assist the development process.
And we also talked about this a little bit, but again, as you dive even more into Stony Brook, what challenges do they present your guys that you're going to have to be in peak form on Saturday?
We will, Ryan. You look, you're playing against they are one of the 20 best teams in FCS. They won their first playoff game last year, and then the second round played the number one team in the country down at James Madison. Won 10 games last year and returned an awful lot on both sides of the ball. So a big good challenge for us now. Ultimately, we got to focus on Air Force, I think, as much as anything. Not that you aren't going to take any opponent and look maybe what they're doing with an alignment, a formation with a certain coverage that's on the back end behind a blitz. I mean, you're always doing that. That's part of your study. But ultimately, like I said, we got to be dialed in, and we got to develop, and we got to improve, and we got to really, really control what Air Force can.
What have you seen from their tailback? I know he's played a lot of football. What does he look like on film?
I tell you, the impressive part, they got two that are put together very, very well. And they're guys that run forward. They're quick enough to make sizable gains, but they run with a lower body with power, and it helps too. Just who they have back in their offensive line, along with an excellent player at tight end also.
And traditionally, it's a program that runs the ball a lot. Is it not? Is that kind of what they generally do?
They're pretty balanced. I think it probably helps their defense that they are too. They've played very, very good defense. They did last year, and the quarterbacks played a lot of football too.
And looking at your defense, Kyle Johnson, one of the newcomers coming in at linebacker. What have you seen from him in spring and fall?
Really, we've had four guys that have gotten the Lions, really have gotten the majority of the reps at our two inside linebacker spots. It's been Kyle Johnson, Brody, and Blake Daly and DeMonte Meeks. And Kyle has very good quickness. He is strong. He is instinctive. He does like to play. Just every single day. Just his focus and his drive and his intensity. And it'll be good for him to really play at that spot in the game. And, I think probably he might, to a degree, what our team will be in a lot of ways. I think Kyle kind of exemplifies just in terms of a guy that'll play, learn, grow, play, practice, learn, grow. I just think football means that much to him.
Is there apprehension going into a game with newcomers at both corner spots, or guys who haven't played a lot of snaps, and linebacker? When you have two units, that you kind of have newcomers.
I think it's just not going to help you, to be loose or to be really wound tight. I don't think, what's important is to make sure our attention to detail, to have great focus, to be able to trust your training, what you do in practice, and turn it loose and play. You got to be able to fire and play on Saturdays or Friday nights.
And talking to some offensive linemen, one thing they said, because across the board it's about 280, 285 now, which is a departure for Air Force, obviously. They said that some of the personal fitness test requirements have changed. How has that benefited you guys in recruiting some of those bigger bodies and then developing them once they're here?
I think the key is you just want to make sure you have great strength. It's not what you weigh. It's the power with which you play. It's being extremely fit, so you have tremendous stamina, and to have great quickness too. It's all those areas. And if you don't have power, it makes it difficult. if you don't have great stamina, then after 2 plays, especially if you're 200 feet above sea level, it's going to make it a little bit tough too. And our guys, we have a little more frame. I think anytime you're a little bit taller, a little bit longer, you can carry more quality weight. Yet we cannot be, and our guys know it. I mean, we measure body fat and it's movement and it's endurance and it's being consistent and it's being down after down.
And have you tailored your off-season weight program a little bit differently since guys don't need to cut some weight? Because basically they said previously they would cut about 20 pounds to pass some of those tests and then they'd put it back on, whereas now they can kind of just keep it on and hit a little bit harder in the weight.
No, we're, still, the premium that we put on is having a guy that's takes great pride in football, physically is very durable. I mean, it's the ultimate development position in the ultimate development sport is the offensive line. And, really well focused in the weight room. And, between power, heavy lifts, but flexibility, being able to lengthen muscles, and make sure the right balance is there. We don't compromise shoulders either, especially shoulders. Neither shoulders nor hamstrings. And then just playing. We need to play. And we practice hard. And even though you practice hard and you practice well, to be able to carry that forth to a game.
And, do you think you'll go into Saturday with a rotation of linemen on the offensive side that could be as many as 10 guys?
I could say we're going to play more than 5. Yes, sir. I think it's and I could see that throughout the season. It's kind of interesting you say that. We did that down the stretch last season, our last 2 games. We really played 8 offensive linemen. And I think there's some pluses to it in terms of building depth. Make sure you have guys that are fresh. It's rare, like, golly, if you went, where'd you go to school again? You went to, okay. It's rare that they have 5 guys only play 40 minutes, in a basketball game. It's just, there's some benefit there, I think, sometimes to maybe having one series to observe and see an adjustment. So to answer your question, yes, we could have, you could see 7-8 guys that play 15-plus snaps in a game. I don't know if that'll be the case or not this weekend, but, in games throughout this year, very well could happen.
And are you excited to go into the stadium, have the new locker rooms and the new, facilities there that you guys will have? Yeah,
you are. It can't swerve or pull you in a direction that, you just, to be grounded and aware enough to know that it's it has very little to do when it comes to blocking, to be able to play a block and to be able to make a tackle.
But will it help meeting space? I've heard in the past, some groups would meet in showers or whatever because there was just limited.
Yeah, perhaps. I think maybe it could. Now, I can't tell you if you said, hey, last 4 years because of it, is that why the last 4 years we were only, 5-19 at home or whatever it was. So I think it probably can only be a plus, yes.
How you doing, Coach?
I'm doing well.
I don't know if it has any impact at all, but what does Parents Weekend, if anything, do for your players?
It's I love this weekend. Golly, really, if you had to say what's your favorite weekend out of the year, this is pretty close to being it. To have family members, to have friends, if it's your dad, if it's your mom, if it's a girlfriend, even if I tease our guys that you probably don't have one. It's you think of how hard a cadet works, and ultimately, you can look back and over darn near there are 4,000 students, and I bet about 3,950 of them, if not more. Really, they're here because of their upbringings, and the discipline, the love, the support, the strength, so about the time you wanted to call home and thought, oh my goodness, this is a bear, but somebody's mom's an emergency room nurse, and you thought, what am I going to do? Tell her this is too hard? And, or those times where they kind of pushed you or nudged you to say, I know the best place where you need to go to school. Now, once in a while there was a parent that might have been a little more forceful than that. It's an awesome weekend. It is. It's kind of one of those where you wish almost every single weekend there was a way, that could be the case. But, where we're located, being a national school, you aren't, for the most part, 90 minutes from home. If you look, you did the demographics, I think roughly you're probably looking at about 60, 2/3 of our students come from either the central time zone or the eastern time zone. Only about 15%, at least our football team, 10-12% come from the mountain time zone, and then another 15, 20, probably 70% that way. And, it's, so everybody's a ways away. So you don't see your family every single weekend. And that's why this is one of those weekends that's it's an awesome time.